Good day, learners. Today we're going to move on to the next aspect of factorization, as we have been doing in the past. But for today, we're going to be dealing with factorization, the quadratic trinomial. The general form of a quadratic trinomial is given as ax squared plus bx plus c. When it comes to the level 2 curriculum, what you would need to do is you would be given a quadratic trinomial. You would then have to take the quadratic trinomial and factorize it. In order to factorize an expression in this form, we have to use something called the cross method. The cross method is a trial and error method, which means that you may need to try a few options before picking the right one. However, guys, the more you practice, the better you would become. For the purpose of this video, I will be doing lots of writing. But nonetheless, guys, I hope you are able to understand it. Question number 1. Factorize the following. And by the way, in the examinations, the question will not tell you the method to use. You would need to decide on how you are going to factorize. The mere fact that I see a square means that this is in the form of a quadratic trinomial. It is quadratic and I have 3 terms, which means I can go ahead and use the cross technique. The cross technique is as follows. The first thing that I would have to do is I would have to find the factors of the first term. The first term is x squared. Then I would have to find the factors of the last term, and the factors of the last term here is 10. Yes, guys, the first term is x squared. Now I'm going to ask you a simple question. What multiplied by what gives you x squared? Or in mathematical language, what are the factors of x squared? And you would find that x squared, or the factors of x squared, will be x multiplied by x, and x times x is x squared. Then I would go to the factors of the last term. The factors of the last term we know is 10. What are the factors of 10? Now 10 has many factors. I need to list them down. Firstly, 10 is the same as 10 times 1, or 10 is the same as 5 times 2. Notice the way I'm writing it, and you will see why I'm writing it in this fashion. 10 can also be 2 times 5, and 10 can also be 1 times 10. There are numerous factors. You would not have to list on all the factors because, as I said, once you practice this, you'll be able to get to the factors. The cross technique is as follows. I need to associate this x with a factor from the bottom, this x with a factor from the top. And that is where I get the concept of the cross technique. Now this is, guys, where I'm going to do a little bit of writing, and I am going to follow through the trial and error method. And the trial and error method is as follows. The first thing is, I know I will be dealing with 2 brackets. The factors of x, or x squared, is x multiplied by x. Then I simply take the factors of 10. And the factors of 10, as I said, can be 10 multiplied by 1. Now you remember the FOIL method. When I'm applying the FOIL method, this is what I need to do, guys. I'm not interested in the x times x because I know that is x squared. I'm not interested in the last term because 10 times 1 is equal to 10, which I have here. I'm more interested in getting the middle term, which is 7x. Now watch this, guys. If I multiply 10 times x, I'm left here with 10x. If I multiply 1 times x, I'm left here with 1x. Now the simple question I teach my learners is using the numbers 10x and 1x, by either adding or subtracting, is it possible for me to get to 7x? And you would notice it is impossible. 10 plus 1 or 10 minus 1 does not give me the concept of the 7x, which means that my factors are wrong. The next step, guys, means I have to change something. And then what I can change are the factors of 10. So I would go down here and I would say factors of 10 can also be 5. Sorry, I erased the x. I was not supposed to erase the x. I was supposed to erase the 1. So the factors of 10 is also 5 multiplied by 2. Watch what I do now, guys. 5 multiplied by x is 5x. X multiplied by 2 is 2x. By using 5x and 2x, is it possible for me to get 7x? Yes, it is, by adding 5 plus 2. You would notice I'm not worried about the signs as yet. I'm simply concerning myself with finding the correct factors. By now, guys, you would have noticed that these are the correct factors, which means the next step is for me to go ahead and find out if I can get the correct signs. Now, to get the correct signs, I look at the sign of the last term. This is positive. And you know from past experience, a positive multiplied by a positive is equal to a positive, or a negative multiplied by a negative is equal to a positive, which means in this case both signs could be positive or both signs could be negative. I would start off by making both sides negative. Now what should I have, guys? You'll multiply out. This times this is minus 5x. X multiplied by minus 2 is minus 2x. Minus 5x minus 2x. Does it give me the middle term here, which is positive? It does not. The mere fact that it does not means that my signs are incorrect. If my signs are incorrect, I need to go ahead and find out how can I correct the sign. I have only one last option left. I said both could be negative, which is not true for this one, or both could be positive. Let's try putting both signs as being positive. Now, watch what happens, guys. 5 multiplied by x is 5x, which is positive. X multiplied by 2x is positive 2x. 5x plus 2x, is it 7x? Yes, which means I have now basically factorized my quadratic trinomial. And the factors are x plus 5 into x plus 2. Guys, this was a bit cumbersome for me to explain it, but I hope you are getting the picture of what is going on. Let's go further. What happens if I use another example? And in this case, guys, I'm going to be dealing with example number 2. Factorize the following: 3x squared plus 18x plus 15. As I mentioned always in the past, the first question that you would ask yourself is, can I remove common factor? If you can, then you must. Look at this, 3, this 18, this 15, which means I can remove 3 as my highest common factor, and I'm left with x squared plus 6x plus 5. Perfect. Which means I still have to factorize this portion. Forget about the 3. The 3 is one of your factors. In fact, don't forget about the 3. The 3 needs to be in your final answer. But factorize what is in the bracket. So I would go to the normal scenario. Find the factors of the first term. What is the first term? X squared. Find the factors of the last term. What is the last term? 5. So the factors of x squared is x multiplied by x. Perfect. What is the factors, or what are the factors of 5? The factors of 5 would be 5 multiplied by 1, or 1 multiplied by 5, which means now I use my cross technique and I start using this so-called trial and error method, which means I put down 2 brackets. I know the factors of x squared is x multiplied by x. I know the factors of 5, very simple, is 5 multiplied by 1. Watch what I do. 5 times x is 5x. X multiplied by 1 is 1x. Now my question to you is, by either adding or subtracting this, can I get to the middle term here, which is 6x? Yes, I can. Which means my factors are correct. What I need to do now, guys, is to get the correct signs. How do I get the correct sign? I look at the sign. The sign of the last term is a positive, which means, once again, both signs could be negative or both signs could be positive. Let's try negative. If this is a negative and I multiply, I get minus 5x. X multiplied by minus 1 is minus 1x. Minus 5x minus 1x is not positive 6x, which means that my signs are wrong. I only have one last option left, and that is to make both signs positive. If I multiply now, that's positive 5. If I multiply now, that's positive 1, which means this gives me my middle term, which is 6x, which means my factors are x plus 5 into x plus 1, like the previous example. which means my factors of this becomes 3, which I told you not to forget because it's part of the factors of this expression, into x plus 5 into x plus 1. How about this question, guys? 6x squared minus 9x minus 42. You would find these questions are quite easy for the mere fact that it is level 2. Ask yourself, can I remove common factor? If you can, then you must. Common factor is 3, and you are left with 2x squared minus 3x minus 14, which you need now to factorize. This 3, remember, is one of the factors of the original question. I have to now factorize this portion, the quadratic trinomial. And the method I'm going to use, guys, is, yes, factors of the first term and the factors of the last term. All of this you don't need to show. If you give me the correct factors, I would assume that you use the cross technique and you understood it and got it correct. What is the first term? The first term is 2x squared. What are the factors of 2x squared? It's 2x multiplied by x. That times that must give you 2x squared. What are the factors of the last term? What is the last term? 14. Don't worry about the signs for now, guys. What are the factors of 14? The factors of 14 will be 7 multiplied by 2. It will be 2 multiplied by 7. Yes, it's 14 times 1 as well, and 1 multiplied by 14. But for now, guys, let's use the cross technique. Again, once you get some experience, you will be able to get to the correct answer. I'm going to use it as I see, which means I start off with 2 brackets. The 2x goes together with the 2. The x goes together with the 7. Now watch what happens here, guys. I start multiplying out. 2 times x is 2x. 2x times 7x is 14x. Now by using this 2x and 14x, by either adding or subtracting, can I get to 3x? Don't worry about the sign. Definitely not. Which means that this or these factors will not work. But remember, it is trial and error. So I know it's not going to work. Let me swap these around. Sorry guys, I got to the answer too fast. Let me swap these around. Instead of making it 2 times 7, let's go ahead and try the opposite way around. Make that 7 and make that 2. If I go here, 7x multiplied by, or 7 times x is 7x. 2x times 2x is 4x. Watch this, guys. By using 7x and 4x, can I get to 3x? And yes, I can get to this 3x by either adding or subtracting. Now I'm not interested in the signs for now. I know 7 and 4, I will be able to get to the 3, which means my factors are correct. Let's go back to the factor or the sign of the last term. This is a negative. If this is a negative, it means one sign will have to be positive while the other one is negative. Now for this, guys, let's make this positive and let's make that negative. Watch what happens. 7 times x is positive 7x. 2x times minus 2 is minus 4x. Positive 7x minus 4x gives me positive 3x, and this is not what I want here. I want a negative, which means my signs are now wrong. I only have one more option left, guys. Remember I said one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Let's go now and make this one negative. Let's make that negative and let's make that positive. If I multiply this out, this now becomes negative, that becomes positive. Watch this, guys. Minus 7x plus 4x gives me minus 3x, which means now my factors are correct. Very good, guys. And you have checked the answer out before. The answer becomes 3 into 2x minus 7 into x plus 2. Guys, you would think this is cumbersome, but trust me, as you get to grips with it, it is something that you are able to understand and get full marks for. Something like this should be around 3 marks in the exams. Could be 4 marks, who knows. Let's go now, guys, to our activity. factorize the following. Ten examples, guys. By the way, number 10 is quite a good example. Press pause now, guys, and we will go over to the answer section. And once again, guys, I'm not going to spend too much time on the answers. Solutions. Question number 1. For number 2, guys, make sure you understood that you had to remove the 2 as common factor. Remove it as common factor, but it forms part of the answer. Number 3 was quite straightforward. Number 4, number 5, and I'm sure I put number 6 in here. Perfect. Mark your work. If there are any challenges, or if there's something that is wrong with my answers, please notify your lecturer in front of you, because errors do crop up. Example number 7. Example number 7 is a typical exam type question, guys. And for the final one, example number 10. Guys, watch example number 10. In example number 10, it's a combination of removal of common factor first. Can you see y squared plus 1 is in all 3 terms, which means I remove y squared plus 1 as common factor, which means I'm left with x squared plus 7x minus 44. And then I would have to go ahead and factorize this part here by using the cross technique. Remember, y squared plus 1 forms part of your answer. And this simplifies to, or factorizes to, x plus 11 into x minus 4. How's that, guys? Quite simple. What I would recommend that you also do, go to the Pearson's textbook for level 2. It's quite a good book, and try to get some of the examples from there. With that, guys, I thank you, and good luck in your studies.